In this video, we are going to be talking about expository nonfiction. Expository nonfiction's purpose is to inform the reader. It is centered in fact, and unlike the other types of nonfiction, its main goal is not to persuade, describe, or tell a story. It is to inform. In this lesson, you will be learning about and reading examples of 4 genres of expository nonfiction: news stories, science texts, historical nonfiction, and everyday documents. Let's look at news stories first. News reporting is intended to be factual, and the purpose is to inform readers and listeners. It is the reporter's task to discover and report information. What happened? Who were the people involved? Where and when did the event occur? Why and how did it occur? The reporter may and probably does have a personal opinion, but there is no place for it in a true news story. Because news stories are often urgent and must rush to deadlines, the stories are written in what is referred to as inverted pyramid form. The most important information appears first, the least important last. This means that a publisher can use as much of a story as fits in available space and cut the rest without losing the most essential facts. Readers can learn the basics from the opening paragraphs. News stories, by their very nature, evolve as facts are discovered. One good example of this is reporting about the bombing in Oklahoma City in 1995. Early reports suggested quite boldly the guilt of terrorists from the Middle East. Only later was it discovered that the perpetrator was a veteran of the United States Army. What is news today quickly becomes an old story tomorrow. Let's turn next to science texts. Science, of course, does not exist in a vacuum. It both shapes and is shaped by history, and it involves both humanitarian and ethical issues. The practical results of scientific and technological advancement affect our daily lives, international relations, and both the national and world economy. It is therefore extremely important to be able to read scientific texts and understand the implications for your life. Scientific reasoning involves scrupulous attention to detail, creation of hypotheses, tests to determine the accuracy of hypotheses, revision of hypotheses, additional tests, and additional revisions in a process that can go on and on. Conclusions held firmly by one generation are often changed by another as both science and technology advance. For this reason, reading about science necessitates attention not only to the writer's credentials, but also to when a book or article was written. The third genre to look at is historical nonfiction. As a student, you are certainly acquainted with history textbooks, which focus on major events, the connections among them, and the persons involved. History involves many aspects, like this picture of folded papers. It involves aspects like politics, economics, culture, religion, philosophy, and technological development. In order to write historical nonfiction, historians, the people who write the texts, need a broad and deep knowledge of their subject matter, and they are always looking for new evidence. Some people may confuse historical nonfiction with historical fiction. Do not be one of these people. Historical fiction and nonfiction can both give readers interest and understanding of past events. The difference is that fiction can have creative license. It can invent characters and events that never existed or happened and insert them into the story. Historical nonfiction, on the other hand, must stick to the facts and acknowledge that guesses are just that, based maybe on evidence, but not necessarily accurate. The final genre that you will study and read is that of everyday documents. What do I mean when I say documents? Well, history is full of documents: constitutions, treaties, presidential addresses, motions in Congress and the Senate, and Supreme Court decisions. Most companies have documents that include statements of their missions and define policies. When we lease an apartment or a vehicle, we read and sign documents that describe the conditions of the agreement. Anyone involved in a legal proceeding of any kind is bound to run into documents, and sometimes these are so confusing that the meaning is hidden from the person reading them. Although documents can be boring, an ability to read them and sort through the information is important for both society and individuals. For example, anytime you buy an expensive product, get a cell phone, buy a car, get a loan, get a speeding ticket, or lease an apartment or house, you will have to read and understand some type of document. Although these types of expository nonfiction that we have gone over in this video are not the only types of expository nonfiction, the four genres of news stories, science texts, historical nonfiction, and everyday documents are important genres to be able to read and comprehend well.